Good evening. I will call this meeting of the Pittsboro Board of Commissioners to order, and we will start, as we traditionally do, with a moment of silence. Thank you. Commissioner Vose, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. All rise. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Up first is the adoption of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes or questions to the regular agenda or the consent agenda? Take a motion to approve the regular agenda. Commissioner Vose.
Second.
Second. Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Commissioner Vose.
Second.
Second. Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All. Thank you. Up next is information items. The information item we have is the Pittsboro ABC Board budget. Any questions on that item? Okay. Up next is our ceremonial, and we have a resolution to declare June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth in Pittsboro. Whereas Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, and Liberation Day, is celebrated annually on June 19th to commemorate the emancipation of enslaved African Americans in the United States. And whereas Juneteenth serves as a significant reminder of our nation's history and the ongoing efforts to promote equality, justice, and freedom for all. And whereas Town of Pittsboro recognizes the importance of Juneteenth and the need to educate and reflect on the historical and cultural contributions of African Americans to our community and nation. And whereas Community Organizing for Racial Equity, CORE, is holding the 7th annual Juneteenth Black Arts Festival at the Chatham County Fairgrounds from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on June 15th. And whereas celebrating Juneteenth in Pittsboro fosters understanding, respect, and unity among our diverse residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and the Board of Commissioners for the Town of Pittsboro declares June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth in the Town of Pittsboro. We urge all residents to take time for the celebration and reflection of this significant day in our nation's history. Let's adopt this 10th day of June 2024. Take a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin, second.
Second.
Commissioner Foley, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, up next is the Citizens Matters, and we'll start with the manager's update.
Thank you, Mayor. So we are looking to build a steering committee for Pittsburgh Road Park participation. That's probably going to be 3 groups, 5 folks. So we'd like to have some board members, probably like.
Yes, please.
Still this one. No. Can you hear me now?
Better.
All right. So perfect. How about now?
Go ahead.
Excellent. All right, steering committee for the Montecure Pittsboro Road Park. Again, probably need 10 to 15 folks. We're probably going to still use the Parks and Rec Advisory Board as one of those. Would like some participation from you all if you're interested. So if you think if you yourself would like to be involved or have other folks you'd like to be on that steering committee, send those over to Katie and I. The town is starting its first internal newsletter. The first one should be out in the first week of July. It's going to be aimed at trying to educate the staff as a whole on our internal workings and everything we have going on. This was a product of the employee engagement survey that we did back in January. And so just trying to reach out to the employees and know what's going on. The ABC store possible location for number 2 has been posted. That sign is up as of about an hour ago. That will go to the state ABC board July 10th for approval or for consideration. And the ABC board is likely going to ask you all for a support resolution at your July meeting. So you should see that on your agenda. Other than that, our marketing brochure is out. We've been getting some decent feedback from that. We've actually mostly ran out of the additional copies that we had printed, so we're going to have some more printed before the end of the year. And everybody in town that's a water and sewer customer should receive one of those in the next week or so. So you've got some of those copies there, so feel free to hand them out. If you need more, let us. And I think we've got a presentation on Main Street to finish up.
All right, sound good. Department of the month, downtown.
That's right.
Part of the planning department.
Yes.
Good evening. I'll be presenting what we've been up to this past year. Also wanted to apologize for all the slides. I got a little excited. It originally started with over 50 slides. And Mr. Franklin made me take about half out, so I will try to go through as quickly as possible. I wanted to preface that we are 2 years into our downtown program. We became a Main Street affiliated community in July of 2022. That's when my position was created as the downtown director. The town board also created the downtown advisory board. We started promptly with community input. The downtown advisory board completed a downtown questionnaire, vision forum. We had 2 additional visioning workshops, a vision survey. We created 3 new committees: design, economic vitality, promotions. Design, economic vitality, and promotions that began meeting monthly. And we also prepared our first annual budget and work plan, mostly thinking of new ideas and evaluating them. Next slide. So moving forward to this year, we were able to accomplish several action items. Oh, excuse me, this is the one. This is the 2022-23 fiscal year that I briefly went over. Next slide. So moving on to this year, we were able to accomplish several action items, starting with economic vitality. I won't go through every item, but I'll hit on a few highlights. Number 1, we've been working with TARPO and applying for a CMAQ grant for a local shuttle system, which I was informed today that we should be hearing something in a few weeks. So that's looking good. We've also met with several consultants in preparation for a CFAC grant for electric vehicle chargers. We have assessed a municipal service district, decided not to pursue. And we're also in the middle of a parking study. We had stakeholder meetings last week and we met with over 60 community members for feedback on that. Next slide. We implemented the social district downtown. We drafted the community business survey that will be dispersed this week. We conducted a downtown stakeholders meeting with over 70 participants, with another one being planned in July. Next slide, please. We worked with Philip Pappas and the Small Business Center in creating a 5-course session course for small businesses. We've held 2 classes so far at Red Moose Brewing with about 20 participants each. Next slide. We've evaluated pedestrian connectivity from downtown to the plant, started talking about an eastern corridor. And we got a lot of help from our senior planner, Eric Sanchez, on this. So I don't have time to mention everybody, but just know this is a collaborative effort from a lot of different staff members and volunteers. Next slide. Moving on to design. Here's a list of several accomplishments. For the sake of time, we'll move forward and just touch on a few. Slide. We drafted the building rehab grant and the facade improvement grant program. The town board allocated $50,000 to that this fiscal year, which all has been spoken for. We try not to call out individual projects, but there are several in town that have utilized this program, and we are very pleased with the results. We also emphasized installing seasonal decorations this year with purchasing garlands and bows and corn stalks from Huckleberry Trail Farm. Couldn't have happened without the help from community volunteers and Public Works Department, Parks and Recs Department for helping implement all of our downtown beautification related projects. Next slide. The downtown committee brought up an idea almost 2 years ago, which has gained a lot of traction over the last year, which is the downtown pop-up park. So there's been a ton of conversations and planning involved in this park that began with this design committee, countless hours on phone calls and meetings with potential community supporters. And it was then made possible with support of the town manager and town departments, especially engineering, public works, parks and recs. And like to mention that this project was completely done in-house, so no consulting groups were used on this. Next slide. We are currently planning a ribbon cutting for the pop-up park. We can officially thank all of our community sponsors, the biggest one being Chatham Park with a generous donation of $120,000 towards the park. Design committee has also been hard at work for several months analyzing existing conditions downtown, starting discussion about the parking needs that has gone into the parking study. And all their hard work has created a strong foundation to what we're going to use in updating the downtown vision plan. And here's a few examples of maps that have been updated or prepared by the design committee volunteers. Moving on to promotions, here's a more comprehensive list. So not going through each one in detail, but going on to the next slide, we'll touch on a few. The promotions committee developed a process for organizations to apply for sponsorship funding requests for events. That being said, my role as the downtown director involves collaboration with many other downtown organizations, such as the PBA, Circle City Merchants, Rotary, Welcome Chatham, to name a few. We have worked hard together to help plan and promote many downtown events and programs this past year. The promotions committee also created a downtown merchants business private Facebook page. More recently, the promotions committee created language for a downtown ambassador program. We were asked to research for the volunteer policy that you adopted tonight. And this is going to help us create what we're calling a hype team, which is basically just a bunch of fun and excited people that want to go around downtown and tell people how awesome we are. So as you can see, some of the photos, we started wearing our downtown shirts, they asked me about PBO. This was during the Ag Fest where we had different activities going on and it was a lot of fun. We handed out swag. We also spend several hours each week posting on social media. So one of our action plan items was to increase our following by 10%. So happy to report our Instagram followers has increased by 23% over the past year at 2,385 followers. And Facebook followers has increased by over 40% this past year at 4,284 followers. And one of our reels actually went viral, at least in my opinion, with over 80,000 individual views. Next slide.
Which reel was that?
That was, of course, we're downtown Pittsboro, of course.
That's right.
Yeah. The one on the left is our second reel that we did, which I think that received about 50,000 views. But the first one was just basically downtown business owners explaining what they do. And of course, that's Pittsboro. So.
Of course.
Okay, we also created a new downtown website. A special shout out to Planner 2 Jenna Peterson and one of our volunteers at Henry for their help with this. We have not officially launched it yet, though you can find it We're trying to give enough time for all the small businesses to enter their event information, so we do want to do like an official launching soon. This is also phase one, so we're gonna be adding on to it continuously. Next, we're gonna be doing a one-stop shop for opening a business. We're also creating a central hub for all of the downtown special event information. So if you want to know Summerfest information, and if you want to be a vendor, this is the link to apply to do that, because we get a ton of phone calls asking about all the different events. So we can just send them to one place. Next slide. And here's a few of our promotional items that we pass out during our events. And next slide, please. We've created two new annual events over the past year. The first being the PBO Homecoming, which will be held again this October. Next slide. And of course, we want to reiterate, none of this could be possible without the help of community partners. Our other community event was Earth Day, where we partnered with a bunch of local groups and businesses. We can't wait for next year to make it bigger and better. We have lots of fun ideas. I also want to mention real quick that another one of our action items was to create a business after hours event. So we've partnered with Circle City Merchants on that, and it's called Finally Fridays, which includes an art walk. So it's going to be every third Friday of every month for the whole year, depending on the weather. The first one being June 21st. So that's going to be from 4 to 7 p.m. Next slide. We wanted to highlight the mural projects we've been working on. So first, we partnered with 6 area schools that got to present each of their murals at our homecoming event. The theme was, what does Pittsboro mean to you? We've also incorporated mural paintings on parking spaces for the 2 new events. And special shout out to Benjamin Moore, Pittsboro Paint Center, for donating all the paint for that parking space murals. So here's a representation of what all goes into planning a community event. It really can't happen without a ton of help. And this was just the first one. So it's, gonna just grow from here. Next slide. I'm proud to say that our downtown program is a community-driven program. Every new idea we get is generated from the community, approved by the community, including you as the town board. I also want to especially thank the planning director, Randy, and the town manager, Jonathan, for all of their continued support. Pittsboro is lucky to have both of them. Truly, we couldn't do anything without their support on every project that we've had. And last slide. I'd like to toot our horn a little bit. So we went from an affiliated community to an accredited community in just our second year, which you have to be in 2 years to even be eligible. So apparently it's a really big deal. I didn't even realize that, but I was told that it's not easy to get that, and several communities lose their accreditation every year. So we also won a Best of Chatham Award, and Hobbs Architects were awarded our Main Street Champions. We also won a Best Outdoor Improvement Award at the annual Main Street Conference for the Soco Patio. And we have, I think, at least 4 or 5 projects that we plan on applying for next year. Lastly. So I didn't have time to review all of our work plan. I was trying to keep it quick. So if you have any questions from what we've been up to the past year, please let me know, and feel free to contact me anytime. Thank you.
Teresa.
I know that during the last downtown advisory board meeting, we talked about water or water quality. Are there any plans to incorporate that? Our newly found water improvements into the presentations?
So we mentioned bringing it up at the stakeholders committee. We invited Colby Sawyer to present that. We also said that as a hype team, when we're going around downtown, we can pass out the pamphlets and also go around to all the downtown businesses and pass them out as well. So any additional ideas you have to help us get the word out would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, up next is mayor and commissioner reports. I will start with mine. I was able to participate in the first, I guess, weekend of the Hunt State Policy Fellows. And that is run by the Hunt Institute, and it's about education at all levels. The first one is about early childhood education. And so we were able to meet with some practitioners in daycare and learn about that. Things I think I also learned about some things I should be doing. My 4-year-old son, I'm not, so that was good. And then we actually went from there to Washington DC to participate in EPA Local Government Advisory Committee meeting for the Small Communities Advisory Subcommittee that I'm on. And I was able to meet with other leaders from around the country and talk and give some feedback on EPA on policies and things like that. They had some sessions on cybersecurity, and then also got connected to some of their research and development folks. Got to show work about that here. Very few people across the country are so. We had a fun event. The Pittsboro Bonitz applied for a grant from DOT to get bike helmets. We gave out at the Pittsboro Boys and Girls Club. So that was a good collaboration. And the sheriff's department came by and training. So that was a good event. We had I believe the first Memorial Day ceremony in Pittsboro, put on by the VFW and the American Legion on Memorial Day to do a flag raising ceremony. I was able to attend the BLET graduation. So 4 cadets graduated from BLET, and some award winners in there in a competitive field. So that was great to see, and excited to see that program, basic law enforcement training, correct? Yes. So some new faces out there that you'll see. And just yesterday, we had Race Amity Day. It was put on by Partners in Racial Justice and a lot of area community churches. And it was a really well-attended event. This is the second year that we've had that day in Pittsboro, the first celebration. And there was even a letter from President Biden celebrating what we're doing here in Pittsboro. So pretty interesting. Encourage you to attend next year. There was a big, there's about 9 churches that participated in a mass choir songs program. So it's neat. For Central Pines Regional Planning Organization, there was no meeting this month. And EDC, I attended the meeting, and it's good updates from all around Chatham County. So, Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin.
Thank you. I only have one to discuss tonight or inform you all about, and that was the Central Pines Regional Council. The one he's talking about was the one with the mayors and all of those.
Transportation.
Transportation.
Yes.
So we did have it, the delegates, and that was held on May 22nd, 2024. I did it via Zoom. And the main thing was the presentation of the budget, which was, and we passed the budget in the amount of $43,128,349. That's the Central Pines Regional Council budget. So a lot, that is some pass-through money, a lot of times from grants that Central Pines actually does distribute for the different towns and cities and all type of programs. So it's actually, it has to money has passed through their budget. So the budget sounds like it's larger than it actually is. Also, there was one other interesting thing, and I'll just summarize that, and that was a presentation on homelessness. And that was one which really surprised me because it indicated that North Carolina is approximately 1 in every 1,250 individuals in North Carolina which are homeless. And I thought that was really, it would just really surprise me that was the case in North Carolina. And it said in North Carolina, homeless ranking, the state 18th in the nation and the 50th worst in the southern states in total numbers. So I really think that we need to see if there's a way to work on that. Don't like for North Carolina to be in located in such a place as that. So homelessness, as we know, is very, very serious. And if there's any way for the cities and the towns to get together with the state to try to alleviate that, that's what we really need to do. Because homelessness is real. And for someone to be homeless, some people may say, no, they don't want to work. They can get a job, but living is very expensive. And what we can do to help our neighbors, we need to see if we can try to do it. So that's all I have to present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bonitz and Commissioner Farrell are absent tonight. Commissioner Foley, your update, please.
A couple of things. Number one, I did attend the Downtown Advisory Board. I kind of stole that thunder. But it's a great group of people and their best interests, Pittsboro, are definitely at heart. And I applaud what you guys are doing. Advisory Board for Affordable Housing, Chatham County Affordable Housing Advisory Board update. The community development manager or director for the county had resigned a couple months ago, Leah Dyson. She had provided excellent guidance for items here in Pittsboro, for instance, the Reeves Family Farm development. And we'll sort of miss her. We have hired, or Chatham County has hired Jamie Andrews to replace her, and he's full of energy, and we welcome him at that advisory board. I volunteered 2 weeks ago with the Hog River Assembly cleanup. There's a trash trap in the middle of Robeson Creek down by the middle school, Horton Middle School. And that's what we do is we go in there with waders up to our elbows, our armpits, and we remove all the trash that has been collected in that stream. And then that trash is classified as biodegradable or not, and certain plastics are itemized, sent away. With that raw data, you get a healthy or an unhealthy rating for your streams over time. So that's always a fun volunteer step at the Hog River Assembly. The GFL, I have just a comment about that GFL trash. I had a resident address me the other day, and they said they received a cold call, telephone call, and said, would you like to set up your GFL account because Sanford's no longer doing collections, so you'll have to pay yourself. And I don't think that's how it works. Is that correct? So there is some type of scam out there with phone calls that are asking people to set up fake accounts. Just a heads up. I don't know if you've heard anything else regarding that or not, Jonathan.
We will check with Bill Davidson, the GFL, but they are calling folks about commercial trash service.
Yeah.
So commercial trash service, as what was put in the budget in the last budget presentation, that will just be a private sector choice that they can make. We're no longer going to dictate who the commercial clients have to use, so they can go out into the private sector and find who they want from a commercial standpoint. Residential will still all be handled
Through the text. Yes. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Vose?
A few things. On Tuesday, the 21st, I made it to the Arts Council meeting. Nothing town related to report there. Thursday, the 23rd, ABC board meeting, nothing there. Tuesday, the 28th, I attended the core equity training with the Art Council over at the library. On Tuesday, June 4th, I met with 2 homeowners on Alston Chapel Road. And then on that same day, I also attended the Downtown Advisory Board meeting and ended up on the Downtown Vision Plan Stakeholders Committee.
Teresa?
On Thursday, June 20th, I'm going to try that again. On Thursday, June 20th at 6 p.m. at the plant in their new space there called the Wheelhouse, we're going to be having a community discussion on the topic of murals, both maintaining existing murals and planning future ones. I'd love to see people there. Anybody with opinions or ideas or a checkbook that they would like to make a donation from, would love to see you. That's what I've got.
Thank you.
Can I make one final comment? You brought up BLET.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you all for your support on that. Being able to pay these cadets while they're in school is absolutely necessary. You know, when you're having trouble recruiting police officers and then you have 100% pass rating from the 4 folks that we had in that program. And within a couple of weeks, those 4 folks are going to be on the street helping protect Pittsboro. It's a heck of a program. Thank you all for the support again. And hats off to the chief and the police department for getting the first year done so well. So just want to say that.
Thank you. Okay, up next is public comment. Please state your name and address at the start of your comments. There's a time limit of 3 minutes, which will be displayed on the screen. In the interest of time and fairness, it is the board's policy not to respond directly to comments during this period. Staff will follow up as appropriate. The person we have signed up is Connie McAdams.
Good evening. My name is Connie McAdams and I live at 597 Austin Chapel Road in the Pittsboro ETJ. Last month, I spoke to you about my concerns related to a proposed development on Austin Chapel Road. I called the property Horseshoe Forest because Robinson Creek forms a horseshoe curve around the 63 acres of woods. I appreciate the attentiveness you have shown related to this property, and I especially appreciate those of you who have come out to Austin Chapel Road to see the trees. My offer still stands if anybody else wants to come out for a visit. Last Thursday night, at the same time our local students were graduating from Northwood High School, Pulte Homes held another neighborhood informational meeting. Despite the conflict with graduation, a large group of neighbors showed up and expressed opposition to Pulte's rezoning request. At their April meeting, Pulte representatives announced their intention to build 190 housing units on 63 acres. At their meeting last week, that number had increased to 192, which now includes a minimum of 2 affordable housing units. Does that mean the original 190 are unaffordable? I think we all know the answer to that. Pulte told us that they submitted their request for rezoning to the town on April 29th. So you may already have more details than I do. They really didn't give us much information. They indicated that their purpose is to make money. And when we expressed concerns about their plan, their response was that they would meet minimum standards. Neighbors asked questions and expressed concerns about traffic safety and congestion. Pulte had no satisfactory response. We expressed concerns about removal of trees, habitat loss, and the environmental repercussions of that. Pulte confirmed their intention to remove all the trees on the property, except for the required buffers around the creek and other boundaries. There was a lot of conversation about downstream flooding. Pulte assured us that their retention ponds would prevent that. All of us who live out there have seen Robinson Creek flowing across Austin Chapel Road and flooded fields and pastures after a heavy rain. Flooding downstream on Old Golston Road is even worse. There's a clear consensus among neighbors that the Pulte rezoning request is not compatible with the existing neighborhood, does nothing to improve the quality of life, and barely acknowledges the natural resources conservation target area. The rezoning request should be denied. We hope you will continue to do your homework and fully understand all of the potential impacts of this project before you vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have public hearings. Last meeting, we continued the public hearing for the budget, so I'll ask for,
There's a miscellaneous item. There's a presentation.
what I unintentionally skipped over is a presentation from Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't catch miscellaneous. Good evening. My name is Anna Stormzant and I'm here with Ingrid Castro.
We're very fortunate to be here. Thank you for the invitation to present. I am currently in the role of injury prevention coordinator for both the adult and pediatric trauma program at UNC Health, which is housed with the main hospital. Every level 1 trauma center, including UNC Health, has to have one person who's in charge of prevention. So one day there will be a world in which there's not one person, but I am currently the injury prevention coordinator for the hospital and cover Orange and Chatham counties for both the Safe Kids Coalition. So we're talking about Safe Kids Chatham this evening. We wanted to present to the board some highlights of the prevention work that we do. This coalition collaborates greatly with county and city officials and agencies. I worked for Chatham County for 8 years in the public health department. I had no idea the scope and depth in which this coalition works and works on prevention. I'm going to go through very quickly. I'm keeping my 5-minute promise, and leave time for questions and answers. Next slide. Why do we focus on unintentional injury? One might call this category accidents. We don't like to use the word accidents because that implies that they're not preventable. Most unintentional injury and the corresponding fatalities are preventable. It is still the leading cause of death for children and teens in America. As you can see, it takes just a huge chunk, far outweighs the other areas like heart disease and cancer that we spend a lot of attention on. We are a coalition of experts. I won't go through everybody, but so you know, everybody that's part of the coalition is either encompassing part of Safe Kids work. You mentioned the NCDOT bike helmets and the sheriff's office, that was Safe Kids work. So they're either encompassing part of it within their job or they are volunteering or doing pro bono work for the coalition. You can go to the next slide. So our main, just going to give a real brief highlight of the areas we focus on. So we spend a lot of attention on the prevention of motor vehicle collisions, and if they do happen, how to protect those inside. We spend a lot of time focusing on falls. These are the serious falls that bring someone to a level 1 trauma center. And then unfortunately, the third category is now gunshot wounds. And this is your unintentional and intentional. So this includes suicide prevention. We do a whole lot more in the bike ped, fire, water, overdose and medicine, poisoning, and then underlying root causes of mental health and substance use, obviously, as well. So I'm just going to highlight 3 of our programs. We have a lot of other programs. I'm happy to answer any of those. But one of the biggest ones we're known for is child passenger safety. Safe Kids Chatham is aware of and in support of all the permanent checking stations that are in Chatham County, and there are several, including, and then Orange County as well. So we support all those technicians that have to do a 4-day training course and retain certification to be able to do a car seat check. We provide a diversion program. So if anyone in Chatham County, especially on Highway 64, is pulled over for a child passenger safety violation, they can divert for $25 and take our education course online. We also do a lot of, I'm going to call it extra, because it is community outreach and education, and a lot of events, which Ingrid does a whole lot of that work for the county. And then one of our biggest focuses is on our community car seat program. So this is a referral program that we have with family serving agencies in Chatham and Orange. We have over 20 referral agencies that we get a referral in from WIC, Piedmont, Public Health. Through us, through Safe Kids, we then refer them out to a site and we are able to provide a free car seat. I'd like to note, unless it's my staff time, we do not receive any funding from UNC. So all that we're working on for programs is grant and community funded. Another project that we have been launching is a home safety partnership program. So we are partnering with Piedmont Community Health Centers, DSS, to provide resources to those family serving organizations to then give and work directly with the families they serve. So this is covering a wide array of things, but for instance, we might provide baby gates, doorknob covers to prevent falls of kids, gun locks for obvious reasons, and then safe sleep sacks, for instance. So this is a new program we launched last year, and we're seeing a lot of good success. And finally, the big one that we really launched this year as well is doing more of a push on water safety education. So we developed a virtual and in-person water safety parent caregiver class that we've been providing. We also are on YouTube as well. We are starting to do more when we can outreach with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who are partners of Safe Kids at Jordan Lake. We have developed some other things as well. We also are looking very much to the future, that knowing full well we have to increase swim lesson access in Chatham and our surrounding counties if we want to see the drowning rate go down, especially for Jordan Lake. And so we are working with YMCA with our new pools, county, city parks and rec. We welcome that participation as well, to really start to think about how we can make sure every child in Chatham County has access to swim lessons at the appropriate age. You can go to the end, all the way to the end. So there's a whole lot more, but that's 5 minutes. So questions for us?
Any questions?
So can you give us some examples how you can apply what your efforts, beautiful efforts that you have, how they will apply to Pittsboro specifically?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Well, first of all, with the growth. So I'll just speak to water safety. We absolutely have to get that solved. Orange County is able to provide second graders, every single second grader swim lessons through the Swim with Charlie program. That's something we're looking at for Chatham. We have one of the biggest public lakes in our county and we don't have anything. And we're leaving huge buckets out of the county as well. So maybe the northern parts might have more access to public pools, but we're leaving out big chunks of southeast, southwest. And we've got to make sure all those kids have access to swim lessons as well. Our home safety, I mean, is with the increase in people, you have increase in just the chance of accidents and injuries to be occurring in the home, which is where we see a lot of things like falls, especially among older and younger people. But then increase in traffic, motor vehicle collisions are also going to be on the rise. Those are the three big things: car accidents, falls, gunshot wounds that bring people to a level 1 trauma center across the board, pretty much the entire country. So these are things that won't be going away. Suicide is on the rise, unfortunately. We know an evidence-based way to prevent suicide is having proper gun locks. That's one thing that's in the slides we didn't mention. So we are in charge of distributing those throughout the county with the public health department, making sure those have access to those, making sure people know how to protect their families and their kids, not necessarily from accidentally finding a firearm, which could be horrible, more likely someone hurting themselves or someone else. So.
Pittsboro has a First Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you are aware of that, and we'd love to see you there. You could spread your information that way.
Thank you. Yeah.
Formally invited.
Thank you. Yeah, we have probably a long time ago as well. We don't, just because of people power, get out as much to events, but thank you for that. We'd like to. We welcome more participation, save kids, because we are about 16 people with competing priorities. Sam Bradburn from the Pittsboro Police is part, but he's obviously doing a whole lot of other things as well. So we really could use more involvement, especially from the town of Pittsboro and those who live here, both as an employee or as a volunteer as well. As you can see, there's just a whole area of things that we cover that there isn't a whole lot going on elsewhere that we could use help with.
Thank you for that.
Yep, everyone brings their expertise too. Any other questions? Thank you for having us this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
As I previewed before, we have a public hearing continuation for the budget, the managed recommended budget. We continued that, a motion to reopen the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Foley, Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Public hearing is reopened. Heather, please.
Okay, so nobody signed up for public comment. And I do not have anything to add to the previous presentation from the prior meeting. So, but if you have any questions, please let me know.
Questions for Heather on the budget?
I don't have any specific questions, but I do have one that I'm just interested in knowing, just as FYI for myself. And you alluded to it earlier about the commercial customers for solid waste. If they wanted to continue with the same company that we use, they are can do that. So they can.
Yes, but they will be,
Go
they'll
ahead.
be doing it directly with GFL. And so the town will no longer be the pass-through for the pickup services. So the way it's worked currently for commercial services is that we charge the fee for the pickup service and they have to go directly to GFL for the rental fee for their dumpster. So now they'll just go to GFL for both of those things and we will not have to charge them for the pickup service.
So has any commercial customers called and wanted the names of other companies?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay, would the town be able to supply a list of those if they called, if those commercial customers called?
So
Please.
we can, but we also don't like to do that just because we don't want to steer people towards a particular company. But we also aren't aware of which other companies will service this area.
Okay,
So some do and some don't.
okay, just a FYI for me. That's all.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No other questions? I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin, second by Commissioner Vose. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And I will take a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2024-2025 manager's recommended budget. So moved. Commissioner Vose,
Second.
second, Commissioner Foley. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Okay. Next public hearing is for ZTA 2024-02, the Scenic Corridor Overlay District. And I'll take a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Commissioner Foley, second. Second, Commissioner Vose. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right. No one was signed up to the public, from the public to speak for this public hearing. But we'll hear from Eric.
Hello, good night. Let me start off first by apologizing. I made a very gruesome error and I uploaded a second to best version of the document. So I had printed over. You have it in front of you highlighted with what the changes should reflect. I do apologize for that error. In terms of planning, oftentimes we look at planning simply from what we're doing now, what happened in the past. I want to think that we should also be looking at planning a lot from what is going to happen in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years. And this is effectively what we're looking at here in this scenic overlay district that is not looking at what we can do now. Well, in effect, yes, but really how that is going to inform the built environment within the next 20 to 30 years. Principally looking at what, yes. Principally, the intent of this overlay is to help improve, to help protect the corridors coming into and leaving Pittsboro. What corridors are those? Effectively, we're looking at Hillsboro Street and US 64 East and West. So the intent is the scenic overlay district is established to enhance and protect the visual appeal of identified corridors or thoroughfares within the town of Pittsboro. It should provide a sense of arrival via smooth transition within the town. That is both for residents as well as for those that are visiting us. The goal of this district is, as I said, to protect and to enhance the scenic value of these corridors. Of course, these are not the only corridors coming into and out of Pittsboro, but we feel that these are the ones that we can tackle now, and these are the ones that maybe need the most urgent attention. These standards will preserve the character of the town of Pittsboro by providing an aesthetically appealing experience to those traveling the corridors, provide multimodal transportation options for travel, and to ensure safe transportation corridors for motorists, bicyclists, and pedestrians alike. So, in terms of the East and West Street corridor, the applicability of this corridor is, that's the first portion that is highlighted here in yellow. It shall apply to parcels with road frontage on US business that falls within the following parcel ranges. Parcel 68021 to 87986 and business that falls and parcels that falls within parcels 6054 to 6210 and parcels 74679 to 610066 and parcels 95337 to parcels 7479. And that should cover the beginning of east. Sorry, yes, that should cover the beginning of east and west. Now, that is effectively looking at the high area of vegetation. What the high area of vegetation would do is that it would allow for us to put a 50-foot buffer. Now, within this 50-foot buffer, what we are allowing is the allowance of sidewalks, we're allowing greenways, we're allowing agricultural, as well as public recreation, and of course, lighting. Outside of that, we are trying to restrict what can be done within this 50-foot buffer. The intent is to preserve the natural vegetation that is seen there at a high level, hence the word high area vegetation. Second to that, we have an intermediate area vegetations. The applicability for the intermediate area vegetation shall be for parcels that are on road frontage for US 64 business that falls within parcels 95045 to 7340 and parcels 76165 to 67907 and parcels 6738 through to 62494, as well as parcels 8028 through to 724. Within this intermediate area of vegetations, what we are looking for is a 30-foot buffer, not a 50-foot buffer, as is within the high area vegetations. The idea or the rationalization behind that is to create a gradient and not to have such a staunch transition zone. So effectively to make it smooth and somewhat faded in. I think you could skip, hold me, please. This goes over what I effectively just mentioned there. Next one, please. In the screen or on the screen is the area that we're looking at in terms of east and west. As you can see, it covers the areas that have either a high area vegetations or an intermediate area vegetations, but it doesn't necessarily go into those areas that are effectively built out because we do not want to create a burden on people who already exist within these parcels. Next. In terms of Hillsboro Street, we are hoping to do a little bit more radical of a solution there. The intent of Hillsboro Street is to create again a transition zone. The rationale behind it is that you go from downtown Pittsboro and then you go up to around Mosaic. And in the middle, it's kind of, we don't know what is exactly the transition into or we're transitioning away from. We're very brand new, modern to a historic crowd center. But there should be an information and well, there should be a story that is told between from old to new and from new to old. And that is where that zone comes in. What we've decided or what we're proposing to do in that area is to create two zones. One, a modern transition zone, and two, a historic transition zone. Within the modern transition zone, what we're looking for is a 150-foot buffer. That 150-foot buffer will not allow or will not permit the following uses: drive-through, car washes, fast food restaurants, food trucks, gas stations, car dealerships, vehicle repairs, auto parts stores, as well as retails that should not be over 40,000 square foot. Sorry, I apologize for the error there on the screen, but I had highlighted it here on your attachments. The intent of that is to ensure that Pittsboro develops in a way that doesn't necessarily look like many of the other small towns or towns in the US, where you go in and all you see is car dealership, car dealership, car dealership, McDonald's, car dealership. What is it, Wendy's? That's what you said, Wendy's? So we're trying to prevent that or protect our town from looking like that. In order to protect it, we also offer a point B that requires that within that 150-foot buffer, there is a 50-foot buffer, not extending the buffer, but there's a 50-foot buffer within that will not allow for any sort of construction to occur. We're asking that a maximum allowable of 50% of the parking may occur within that zones, as is allowed within the different portions of the UDO, as well as a 50% increase in the landscape. So we're not necessarily taking away from you, but we're saying, hey, if we're going to build something, it has to look really good. There's also a 75% increase in the overall required landscaping, bringing it up into 175. So if you needed, 10 trees? Now you need 17.5 trees. Next slide, please. In terms of the historic transition zone, what we are doing is for the, nope, sorry, I made an error again. The applicability, where is it actually going to be? Applicability, the modern transition zone shall apply to all parcels with road frontage on US Highway 15501 on Old Rock Spring Cemetery Road and Coppers Ridge Road, north to Rock Spring Church Road and Russell Chapel Church Road. And that's where it should be, as you can see there. In terms of the historic transition zones, the historic transition zone shall be applicable to all parcels with road frontage on 15501 that falls between Old Rock Spring Cemetery Road and Copper Ridge Road, south to Thompson Street, west and east. Within this historic transition zone, what we're looking for is an increase in the buffer from 150 to 200. Now, within that 200, the following are not permittable: drive-through, including fast food and restaurants, car wash, fast food restaurants, food trucks, gas stations, car dealerships, vehicle repairs, and building exceeding 35 feet in height. Again, the idea is to transition and to allow some uses, but not entirely to allow all uses within that. Uses that are allowed are effectively those that are not listed here. So if somebody wanted to build an office building, they are permitted to do that within that section. There's also a request to have a 30-foot buffer within that 200-foot buffer zones that would have a maximum of 25% allowable parking, but will also ask that there's an increase in 50% landscape requirement, as well as a 75% increase in the landscape requirement as already existing in the UDO. The intent is to make it a little bit more less vegetated as you come into town. But as you're going out and you're transitioning, it should make it a little bit more vegetated. Next slide, please. And are we doing anything new? No, we're not doing anything new. We're not doing anything new. Effectively, what we're doing is trying to continue what we see and what seems to work, but we're making it a bit more applicable to the specific zones. So what you have in the bottom is a picture of Mosaic, right? Is it the refuel gas station that is there? The idea is to carry on that sort of vegetation and sidewalk landscape all the way through into downtown Pittsboro. Again, increasing connectivity, increasing multimodal transportation, but also making it a lot more aesthetically pleasing. If there's any questions, I will take questions at this point in time.
Thank you.
I have a question about food trucks.
Yes.
What is the practical application to that? We've talked about that a few times over the last few years. And I think I've been told most recently that food trucks subsidize existing restaurants. I think that they compete with brick and mortar and tax-paying restaurants. Is this gonna?
I think the intent of the food truck, or at least my understanding of putting it in there for this specific one, was particularly to not have it line the street as, for instance, you're driving down some areas in Raleigh-Durham and all you see is a gas station and a food truck. It's to prevent it within that buffer zones. Outside of here, I cannot speak to that, but within these buffer zones, it's not permittable. Yes, sir.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Parcel number 82141. I'll give you some help with that. That's across the street from McDonald's, at the entrance of our place. Describe what this would do for that lot.
Sure, one second.
Or 83309.
Okay, I think we're talking about two different zones.
Okay.
The one when I mentioned in parcels was more for east and west. But I think
South 15501, this does.
15501 is, sorry, I just got a bit confused. The 15501, what that would do for it outside of, or from the parcels from McDonald's, you said? You're trying to picture it. Cool. So what that would do is,
Both sides of the street, just describe what your vision.
so the envisionment of it is that that landowner would still be able to utilize his or her property to the maximum degree without the utilization of these listed here, such as drive-through car wash. So if that individual decides to put a mom and pop store, he decides to put a hospital or a clinic or whatever it is they may decide, they can put it. They also are allowed to put these uses on that property, but it would have to be beyond that buffer zones. So we're not saying that you're not allowed to do it. No, you are allowed to do it. It's just a matter of where on the property you would be able to do it, because the intent is to ensure that there's connectivity along those corridors. If that, I can explain a little bit further if required.
Thank you.
And you can put parking in those buffer areas too, to some extent.
Yes. Depending, 50 or 25%, depends on the zone.
So if we travel further down 15501 towards the Alpha Center or towards Chatham Mills, there's a lot of residential properties there. If they are sold, these same rules would be applying, correct?
Intent, yes. That's why we're saying, that's why I started with saying a lot of this may not be applicable within the most immediate future. We're looking at how this era is going to transition within the next 10, 15 years. I think we all can or should agree that that era is not likely to remain strictly residential, particularly with the nodes of development being Chatham Park and the huge downtown. It naturally wants to be a little bit different than what it is right now. And how is that going to happen in the next couple of years? That is what we're trying to protect, to ensure that whatever happens, we have connectivity in a way that is uniform.
To go back to the area on Hillsboro, what you're referring to, was residential. I think the residents there would certainly want that to remain residential. But, and then I want to touch base on that area, which you're talking about across from Powell Place. And I can't remember the name of the new place. It's across from Powell Place, where it used to be the Cooper Brothers store. But that's another store there.
Yes.
There is a food truck that sits out in the front, so that would no longer be allowed there. At times, there's a food truck there.
If it's currently, we can do nothing because it's legally, or it would be legally non-conforming. But let's say somebody would come in a couple weeks from now or months from now, then no. That would not be allowed if it is within that buffer zone. It can be allowed outside of that buffer zone, but within that buffer zone, no. So was it 150 feet, 149 feet? Nope, at 151, yes. It just depends where it is. The intent is to push it back so that we can protect that area for the future development. And I agree, the current residents may well want it to remain residential, but we're also trying to protect from what, or if they do intend to sell in some future and that developer decides to, hey, I'll buy up all these residential places and make it commercial. That's what we're intending to protect against.
Right, definitely protect against that. Well, of course, it would have to be rezoned also.
Yes, ma'am.
But yes, definitely protect against that. But I am still concerned about that, the food truck situation, because I don't know, but I don't think that that's 150-foot buffer there where he usually sits that food truck. But that's just my concern.
Has he put his truck there since the electric company opened?
I think he has. I think
Okay.
they've let him put it there.
So the other planning question is a food truck an accessory use to an electric contractor? I'm no planning professional, but I would say no. Kind of like a food truck being an accessory use for a car wash. That's probably a closer stretch, but yeah, that's more of a planning question.
I mean, the argument can be made that a food truck crossing
a
beer place downtown would have that same argument.
Well, those two are compatible uses. Food and beer.
I guess so. Food and electricity is not.
Tacos and let me get my kitchen rewired. You know, it doesn't quite, I don't think it passed the smell test.
It says no food trucks.
Yeah, do y'all want to hear more about food trucks?
Yes.
I want to talk about.
Let's talk
I've
about
been
drugs.
waiting.
Thank you, man.
And to talk about more food trucks, we introduced Teresa.
More questions about the buffering part?
So big picture, really, excuse me, 1 minute, Teresa. 30,000 foot. We know the town will be changing. You, as a good planner, are looking 10, 20 years ahead of schedule. Make sure that once the town transforms and those spots we identify, then we are prepared for it. Is that correct?
Yes, I like to say we don't inherit the past. We don't inherit our land from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. And that is intently what we're hoping to do here. It's just protecting the future.
That's good. Can I use that?
Go ahead. Thank you. May I say?
So regarding food trucks, there's two ways to enforce them. There's one through our UDO, which would be a planning power. You could also enforce it through the code of ordinances, which is a police power. So when you go through a UDO zoning related type of regulation, you do, if there's a violation, you have to send a letter out. You have to give a certain amount of days to comply. And it can be a headache trying to enforce that over time. So if this is something that you would want to be addressed quickly, a lot of jurisdictions require like itinerant merchant permits for food trucks. So we talked about this quite a bit a couple of years ago with the Downtown Advisory Board because there were more food trucks starting to pop up downtown. And the consensus at the time was until we have more sewer, until we're seeing more restaurants downtown, they're not necessarily hurting, they're helping bring people downtown. So the consensus was for us to not pursue enforcing, but that in a couple of years, the dynamics might change. We might want to do that. So just in general, those are the two ways to address food trucks. And you can tailor them to however fits what Pittsboro is interested in doing. So, but to respond to like what Eric was saying with the non-conforming use, you can put in the UDO an amortization requirement. So like food trucks that are there for a certain period of time have to be brought up to standard within a certain period of time. You can do that, but just keep in mind that when you get a violation, you have to go through the code enforcement process, which is tenuous. Yeah.
Are they currently paying the city? Paying the town?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
Are you aware of any other municipalities that do charge?
Oh, yes.
Give examples.
I worked in one where we charged $300 a day
Okay.
per food truck. And there was a requirement that they had to be 150 feet from any brick and mortar restaurant.
I'd like to chase that idea.
Yeah.
Implementing something like that here.
But I think what you're saying is those would be better done in the code of ordinances than the UDO. Is that correct?
Just depending on what you would like us to look at. So we can do research. Again, speaking to downtown, for example, the feedback we received from the advisory board was that it's not necessary. It's actually helping downtown. It's bringing people downtown, such as like at the Havoc. And we are trying to promote it to be outside of the right of way on private property. So we've been working with the food trucks and getting them into compliance as much as we can. So as of right now, we have not strictly enforced it because it has not, we have not received, as far as I know, we have not received many complaints about them. But if you would like us to look at like maybe other parts of town, like what we were just discussing, we could do it from that angle.
I think you can also hit it from a zoning standpoint. So they can be allowed in some zoning district with restrictions and not others. And I've done that in other places.
So there's ways we can handle it, but that's just a general overview on. It's not simple.
I do have one additional question. So if there is a special event going on, and a lot of times, as you know, food trucks come with special events.
Yes.
So would that be exception made? How is that going to be handled?
Yes, Colby Sawyer approves special events, so they would have to go through that approval process.
Mhm.
And he would make sure that they receive all their health department permits, things like that.
when food trucks register to be vendors for special events, do they pay a permitting fee then?
So for several of the downtown events, Street Fair, Summerfest, yes, they do pay those organizations a fee.
But not the town.
But not the town.
Now, when we had the homecoming event, for example, that we were trying to get momentum on that, and it was a brand new event, so we didn't charge them anything. We were just hoping they would actually make a profit, which they did, but so it just depends on each event's a little different on if you want to charge or not.
Mhm.
Any additional questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. We have two absent commissioners right now. This is special. And I would welcome some comments from those that are not here. Is there a way we push this one till the next meeting? We don't have to vote on this today, do we?
We don't have to vote on anything.
You can just make that motion if you want.
I move to welcome the other absent commissioners' input. So I move to push this 1 month down.
Yeah, you can just continue the public hearing to,
Move to continue the public hearing until next month.
did you close it already?
Did not.
Yeah, you can just do a, was that date, continue it on, July 8th.
There,
I second it.
okay,
So a motion to continue the public hearings
so moved. Here.
till July 8th.
July,
Okay. Commissioner
so moved.
Mhm, mhm.
Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good job, Aaron.
Thank you.
Any overarching concerns that we should address between now and the 8th?
I won't say that there's overarching concerns, but I think I would like to see, I want to sort of see this in a map type situation.
Okay.
So I can really look at it and determine exactly the historic section, the modern transition zones and all of that.
Got it.
So I can really look at that more in depth.
And I'm going to speak on behalf of one absent commissioner about dark skies. He probably have some input on that too, or some comments to make.
And we can put together some examples.
Mhm.
And I believe if this was a conditional, if someone was doing a conditional rezoning, their conditional rezoning would outweigh this, right? Yeah. So if you had something special come in, this doesn't really get in the way if it's conditional. Which is what we prefer anyway.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin, you're looking for different diagrams than the packet this
Yes.
month? Okay.
For July, before we look at it in July, I would like to.
Okay, or I guess you can get with staff on what you want that's different than the ones that are here. Okay.
Yeah, we can get you some better maps and some examples of how this might apply to certain parcels.
Yes, that's what I want.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perhaps some different language. I'm kind of worried about the list that you provided. Is there a way of? I don't want to, there are other buildings out there that would be inappropriate as well. Is there language that we can provide that?
Are you thinking other buildings or other usage?
Other businesses?
Other uses.
Yeah.
Yeah, or uses, yeah.
Let's set up a meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Up next is a public hearing for ZTA 2024-03 affordable housing. Take a motion to open the public hearing. So moved. Commissioner Vose, second.
Second.
Pro Tem Baldwin, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No members of the public are signed up to speak at this. And Teresa, please.
Good. Planning staff is requesting text amendments to the Pittsboro Unified Development Ordinance to modify affordable housing incentives to encourage the construction of additional affordable housing in the zoning jurisdiction of Pittsboro. Over the past several years, we've met with dozens of developers to discuss proposed single-family detached housing projects. In general, developers want smaller lots and higher densities to produce a greater return on investment. Many of the single-family detached lots in Chatham Park, for example, are 3,500 to 7,000 square feet. As housing costs rise in markets across the country, local decision makers are looking for tools that create more affordable housing units, enabling the delivery of affordable housing in places where housing costs are rapidly going up because of property value increasing, as is the case here in Pittsboro. Providing affordable housing incentives is one that local governments can use to increase the production of affordable housing that would otherwise not be given or driven by market forces. Pittsboro is a desirable place to build. Many other jurisdictions across the state, developers can choose to easily pass on a project. We do not have this issue here in Pittsboro. We have the advantage of being able to sculpt our UDO to promote our future land use goals and recommended policies. And this text amendment has three main goals. The first one is to simply create more affordable housing units. This has been an ongoing goal for the town for several years. Per our land use plan, it states Pittsboro will continue to address a lack of affordable housing and continue to provide development incentives for affordable and workforce housing. By incentivizing affordable housing, the proposed text amendment meets these goals by building the affordable housing units or by paying a fee in lieu, also known as a cash contribution for their obligation. The second goal is to create more mixed income developments and increase affordable housing units within opportunity-rich neighborhoods. Recent research demonstrates the importance of place for upward economic mobility, underscoring the needs for policies that address the historic patterns of segregation. Our goals are to provide a way at the local level to create mixed income development. Our third goal is to simplify our approach to affordable housing. Town staff recommended several affordable housing incentives back in 2021, and none of them have been utilized by any developer thus far. While researching other jurisdictions in North Carolina, there are unfortunately not many case studies that provide new ideas for what we have already implemented. Our research includes Davidson, Carrboro, Chapel Hill, Kill Devil Hills, Manio, Winston-Salem, Dare County, Burlington, Wake County, Raleigh, and Chatham County. The most successful programs are those that mandate affordable housing. Though there is implied authority in the North Carolina general statutes, there's no explicit power given by the North Carolina General Assembly to mandate affordable housing, also known as inclusionary zoning. Other states have had great success in their affordable housing programs as mandating affordable housing is legal in most states outside of North Carolina. We've researched several of these jurisdictions, mostly including cities and counties in Maryland, Virginia, and California. So as we cannot mandate affordable housing in Pittsboro, we are trying to think of ways to encourage developers to build affordable housing. So getting into the specifics of the proposed text amendment, staff is recommending a zoning-based approach to supporting the development of affordable housing within our community. The smallest zoning district we currently offer in Pittsboro is the residential 5 zoning district. This district allows for a minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet. Staff recommends removing this zoning district from the UDO. The smallest zoning district would then be R10, which is 10,000 square feet. However, developers still have the opportunity to develop 5,000 square foot lots based on this proposed text amendment. The developer can decrease the minimum lot size for single family and duplex residential developments by 50% if they provide a minimum of 10% affordable housing units in their development. So for example, if a property is zoned R10, they can decrease the lot size to 5,000 square foot lots. They can also reduce the lot width up to 40%, reduce the side setbacks to 5 feet, and reduce the rear setbacks to 15 feet. The proposed amendment gives the developer an opportunity to have the high-dense, compact development that they may prefer, while also meeting the town's goals of increasing the number of affordable housing units. Another benefit of this approach is for developers If they choose to pursue this incentive, it's an administrative decision and not a legislative decision, meaning the project would not need to come to you for approval. This would save the developer time from not having to go through the sometimes extensive public hearing process. Administrative review and approval can also lead to a more streamlined development approach, making the development timeline faster and more predictable for developers. Staff is also requesting to update the definition of an affordable housing unit to being a unit offered for sale or rent at a price that does not exceed 30% of the gross income of a family earning on average 60% of the area median income, also known as AMI, or less, adjusted to family size. Staff is also recommending that aesthetically, the exterior of affordable housing units looks similar to the market rate houses, being a comparable size and mass. The units will also not be isolated and will be interspersed within the market rate development. This language promotes socioeconomic diversity within neighborhoods. Mixed income communities are beneficial for social cohesion and economic integration, providing opportunities for people from different backgrounds to interact and share resources. Affordable housing located within market rate developments often provide better access to amenities, services, education, healthcare, and employment centers. This can reduce disparities in access to resources between low income and higher income households. So we've spoken with several developers and other professionals regarding the proposed text amendment, and overall, we have received positive feedback on our approach. This text amendment represents an ongoing effort. The town has been involved in advancing affordable housing initiatives for many years, such as creating the Pittsboro Affordable Housing Task Force in around 2019, I think. Actively being involved in the county's Affordable Housing Advisory Committee since its inception in 2017. In addition to this proposed amendment, staff has been researching other ideas, and we will continue these discussions and propose adjustments to the UDO as needed to benefit the Pittsboro community. We've also been in touch with the Community Home Trust in Orange County. As we engage with Community Home Trust further, we may bring back additional recommendations for you to consider. This text amendment is also a starting point for conditional rezoning requests. So we understand that not every developer is going to choose this specific incentive, though by having this language clearly written in the UDO, developers know that we'd like to start the conversation at 10% of units and 60% of AMI. Housing affordability is crucial for attracting and retaining a diverse workforce. Integrating affordable housing into market rate developments can contribute to the revitalization of urban areas by creating vibrant mixed-use communities. Overall, including affordable housing within market rate developments and also providing an option for a fee in lieu is a multifaceted approach to addressing housing affordability challenges, promoting social equity, and fostering sustainable urban development. So after review and discussion, staff recommends the town board to make a motion to approve the text amendment and the land use plan consistency statement. Please let me know if you have any questions.
I do.
Sir.
First of all, I love the idea. I think it's really nimble. What my experience with the developers is that they look at affordable housing as it's hard to attain. I won't even go there. I do know that it's really difficult to get affordable housing built. We'll just say that. I'll say it. In any different way that we can find to make sure that it happens is I applaud. There's a couple things I'd like to do. I'd like to make sure that, in the text amendment, you talk about AMI, but is it AMI tied to HUD? The HUD?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and is that language in the text amendment?
In the definition of affordable housing unit, it would be
Okay.
based on the MSA, which is also decided based on the HUD standards.
Okay. And will all developers have to go through this conversation?
No, sir.
The choice of in lieu of, or please build us some affordable homes.
They're just options.
Are those the only two options or is there a requirement for these two options?
There's no,
Other-
cannot require it. So what we're looking for is a way that developers can get the high density that they would
Okay,
prefer,
I understand.
go through the conditional rezoning process.
So this is not a requirement, but this is a choice they can either do or not do.
Correct.
And can we talk about in lieu of? How, accounting wise, how does that, where does that money play?
So there has been discussions of where the money can be utilized. So a lot of jurisdictions have like a housing trust fund. So we're having conversations about that. We've also discussed the idea of using some of the fee in lieu revenue to pay for a type of evaluation of what the specific affordable and workforce housing needs are in Pittsboro. So other jurisdictions have done that, such as Chapel Hill.
Okay.
So that's another idea. That's
One recommendation I would put forth would be to take some of that money in lieu of money and invest it in naturally occurring affordable housing as it stands right now. There are a number of homes in the area that will be lost if a new roof is not put on it. And
Right.
we're going to create more homelessness that way.
yes, the fee and lieu's can be used towards all sorts of different types of projects. So that's why we're looking at it both ways. We want to increase the mixed income residential neighborhoods. That helps keep creating pockets of poverty per se, depending on the level of affordable housing. So increasing mixed income neighborhoods, like I explained in the presentation, has a whole bunch of benefits to it. But then also with the fee in lieu, there's additional options that can be used to pay for, let's say, affordable housing projects, specific projects for an affordable housing, let's say, apartment complex.
Got it. I do have other questions that I really haven't had time. 6 days is not enough time really to review this. I'm wondering if we can push this down 1 month also. Or does anybody else have comments first?
I do have a question in reference to the area of median income. What is that now? Do you know what that is?
For a family of 4, 116 for Pittsboro.
Okay,
So we're looped into the Chapel Hill
right.
Metropolitan Statistical Area. So another benefit of having like a specific evaluation of Pittsboro is we can use that to create a more defined AMI for Pittsboro. Because the numbers are slightly skewed being in the Chapel Hill region.
They certainly are.
And Durham.
And Durham, yes, sir.
Yes, when I was on the affordable housing, we discussed that in depth and tried to actually do something, an alternative, instead of looking at that particular figure. But of course, we can't because we have to base it on HUD. But that's what I was interested in, what that percentage would be. Now, I do like this particular information, and thank you for doing that, because we do have to look at all alternatives in an attempt to obtain affordable housing. So I know a lot of people think that it's almost impossible, but a lot of times we have to work with a lot of different stakeholders and think out of the box. Of course, Wake County is definitely thinking out of the box because they're building their own. So, but basically, I was saying that to say this, a lot of times when there is affordable house placed in a sort of upscale development, oftentimes that person may be able to get that particular home, but they can't pay the homeowner fees.
So that's taken into consideration with
Okay,
what they would be paying. So 30% of what their income is includes things like HOA fees, property taxes, utilities.
okay.
So that would just kind of be done at a case-by-case basis. And like, as I stated, we're having conversations with Community Home Trust. So ideally, that would be great if we could partner with them and they can help us be able to implement this program.
Because we do know of one in Chatham County where that did happen, and those individuals could not pay those homeowner fees. So that caused it to not be the affordable unit or units that they had intended.
Yeah, we would take that into consideration.
Okay. But I do agree, I think we need to look, at least think the whole board needs to look at this a little bit more in depth with the other members here so that we can, we can hear their concerns or their opinions in reference to it. But I thank you for this.
Of course.
I really like it. I think it's nimble, like I said, I like that word nimble. And moving into the administrative side has advantages. And I understand that. As long as the administrative side is advocating for it.
Yes, sir. And we would be.
Yeah.
So this would be a part of the conversation at the beginning stages, pre-submittal meetings, for example, with the applicants. And we also have started meeting with the county's affordable housing director. He started about a month ago.
Okay.
So, and he agreed to actually attend all of our pre-submittal meetings to discuss affordable housing up front. Kind of help us, because he's more of an expert in that area than we are, so to kind of help us navigate that.
He's brand new too.
Just one comment too on the area median income. There's not much we can do, or there's nothing we can do about the area median income. But what we can do is target our percentage of income that works for us here. So the type of the housing targets or the AMI percentage, 60%, 30%, 80%, whatever that is, to make that more of the type of housing that we need in Pittsboro. So that's one way we can accomplish that. And then I just think generally as well, more about business is we had 27 items on the consent agenda this evening. So we've accomplished a lot of business this evening. So I do that, accomplish business, a reduced number. Depending on there's additional questions and things like that.
Right, we can, but I would like for them to look at this.
Feel agreed.
Yes, sir. And I went through a lot of information in my presentation, so if you'd like me to specify anything, just let me know for next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we would guess, we need some motions. So I guess we need what's that date again, July 8th. Because we need a motion to continue this public hearing till July 8th.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin, seconded by Commissioner Foley. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Okay, up next is a request for Hillsboro Street improvements in the downtown streetscape.
Good evening. So really fortunate to have a lot of NCDOT focus and planning, construction in our community. Comes with challenges, of course. There are also opportunities. One of those projects is the Hillsboro Street improvements that has been in planning for so long a time, but it is moving closer to being a real project with real impacts and opportunities. So we wanted to talk about that this evening. Staff for at least the past 2 years has been coordinating with NCDOT on the Hillsboro Street planned improvements with an interest to make gains where we can, to tweak the plans, make it better for Pittsboro. A couple of examples of things we've been able to do. We were able to get a continuous sidewalk added to be able to walk from downtown Pittsboro to Powell Place. That was significant. We recently coordinated with DOT to advance the installation of the pedestrian safety signal near Chatham Mills, thanks to a generous local donation. So those are some examples. The thing I want to talk about tonight has to do with the portion of the project that involves downtown. The the core of the downtown, the 2 blocks between Thompson and the traffic circle. The project has always included a streetscape element, what DOT called a streetscape element. Initially, that was pretty limited, mostly focusing on improving the accessibility of the corner of West Salisbury and Hillsboro, which we all know to be just a horrific pedestrian safety access. So that is still certainly part of the project, but we've been able to enhance and expand the improvements to include both sides of Hillsboro Street in the 2 blocks, to do things like remove and replace the brick sidewalks that, you know, are so loved and so important, to improve the electric conduit system. If you have seen, you know, we have a conduit that is surface mounted along the curb, not the safest. So we've been able to incorporate that into the project. We've been able to incorporate adding individual sewer services for the businesses along that corridor to improve some of the sewer utility issues that we have heard about. And we continue to work with NCDOT to make the plan better, to make it reflective of a lot of the priorities that you've heard Teresa discuss, that you've heard other staff talk about. So that we bring to you tonight an opportunity to do that in a formal way. The timing is a little weird, so to speak. We're not bringing with this a municipal agreement, which we normally would do. Because of the timing, NCDOT is at the conclusion of what they call the conceptual preliminary design of the project, ready to enter into the formal design of the project. And so based on the discussions we've had with them, they're asking for the town's consent to the scope of the design work for these 2 blocks of downtown Pittsboro. So that is the matter that's in front of you tonight. So this, of course, you know, comes with some expenses, some investment for the town, not insignificant investments, but we think sound investments. The total investment that you're being asked to consider is just under $159,000. How that came together, the base plan that I talked about that we saw about 2 years ago was a cost share between NCDOT and the town of about 60% NCDOT, 40% town of Pittsboro. That was about 105,000 of this. And then earlier this year, we asked DOT to expand the scope, to do some additional things and also expand the limits. The price tag for that additional scope is about $53,000, bringing us to a total of just under $159,000. The way this will work logistically, if you consent to these investments, staff will communicate that to NCDOT in a letter. We will subsequently receive a municipal agreement, I would guess in the next 90 days, to officially commemorate this and have an actionable agreement for the town to sign to enter a reimbursement agreement. Beyond that, the contracts will all be between the designers and NCDOT. NCDOT will invoice the town one time at the end of the project, which is estimated in FY 28-29. And that would be the point in time that we would make the actual reimbursement. I think there was a budget item in the consent agenda tonight that establishes an NCDOT project fund in part to enable us to do projects like this where the expense is not due, but our consent is requested. So That was a lot of explanation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Ken?
What plans do we have to mitigate downtown business owners' inconvenience?
So in two ways. So one feature of this plan will, once this is done, we'll add some parking. So that gives us a message to communicate with the owners, to help work with us through, through the challenge of construction. There are a number of parking efforts underway. You're familiar with an effort to combine several properties along the, behind the east side of Hillsboro Street, a prospective future parking lease. We are in late stage negotiations, going positively with Brightspeed for a ground lease for parking at 37 East Salisbury, which is just behind the M2 Graphics, that location. Teresa is just now kicking off a downtown parking study that will bring us even additional, strategies, concepts for parking. And so our aim is to have a number of these strategies in place to provide for relief parking during the construction project.
Will the sidewalks be closed? Some of them?
We intermittently. I mean, we've not had those discussions at this stage, but I can just project that, yeah, intermittently they will be closed.
The good news with the existing brick that we have, we can pull that up, repair the foundation under it, and then those guys will, or those folks can put it right back. So once the concrete work is done, then they come back through to redo the brickwork. They can do it in sections and they can knock it out pretty quick. At least that's my experience with redoing sidewalks with brick in previous places.
And I think that type of detailed coordination is what we'll do later. I mean, there will be just some disruption for sure, but I think.
And I'm sure they'll be notified way at a time.
And it is our intention to apply for a downtown economic development grant to fund the majority of our expenses related to this.
So if you would just remind me again, you're just talking about a couple of blocks. You're not talking just a couple of blocks downtown?
Yes, this particular request.
Particular one.
Just shown on the screen.
Can't see that.
So it's everything from Hanks down to the courthouse circle that wasn't done in the previous project.
Okay.
Most notably, the intersection at Salisbury and Hillsboro.
Okay.
I think the short-term interruption will create a very useful downtown or long-term solution, especially when it comes to ADA compliance, the additional parking.
But the great part is we can just point down by Burley's, the ramp down there. That's just beautiful. So this is coming. It's hard to get across the street. It's like Frogger. You're getting across the street there right now, so it's great.
And we did in our field inspection with DOT, we intentionally visited that spot.
Okay, any other questions?
Can we move forward with this? Is that the next step?
Mayor Pro Tem, do you have any other questions?
I don't just yet. not specifically in reference to this, but then after you finish this, how do you anticipate, because you're indicating in the memo that it should go from length of Hillsboro Street to Historic Courthouse and then to Lowe's Drive. So how long do you anticipate getting everything in order to try to go from the area that is indicated here all the way to Lowe's Drive?
Yeah, some of that wording may have been a little confusing. What I was trying to summarize is there previously were two contracts with NCDOT for this. One just focused on essentially these two blocks. And then a larger project that extended from about the Davenports out through Out Place. They were originally going to be contracted separately, but due to timing and some other logistics, DOT has elected to contract them separate. However, none of this discussion is anticipated to extend to projects north of Davenports or north of Lannis Drive. It would just be confined to this downtown area as far as the streetscape treatment.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. I'll take a motion to approve the attached design proposals from Kinley Horn and Associates for NCDOT STIP R 5724B and direct NCDOT to prepare the corresponding municipal agreement not to exceed $158,953.07.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Vose, Commissioner Foley, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Up next is a presentation on the downtown work plan. Teresa?
Thank you.
Passing out a copy of the work plan. Good evening once more. I wanted to preface by taking a moment to acknowledge two people that I missed in my first presentation, Shorty Johnson, Colby Sawyer, all of our promotions and events, we couldn't do it without them and their expertise. So I forgot to mention that as well. And tonight I'm going to be presenting the downtown work plan for fiscal year 2024-25. It will begin on July 1st, 2024 and end on June 30th of 2025. So I won't give an overview of the downtown program. I've done that previously. Overall, the Downtown Advisory Board and committees have been discussing many ideas. We're ready to get started on the work plan. So I'll just keep the first page of the work plan on the screen, and if we need to move to the next page, we can as needed. So I won't go through every item unless you would like me to. I will just kind of point out some of the main action items. So at the top of the work plan, we have our vision statement. This was created in 2022. With that, there's 3 economic development strategies identified by the Downtown Advisory Board. And that's at the top of your handouts as well. The first being the center of an eclectic and an innovative economy. Second being a vibrant arts and cultural destination. Third being an inclusive and welcoming place for everyone. The largest section of the work plan are the action steps. So each action item falls under one of the 4 points in the Main Street program, which is design, organization, promotions, and economic vitality. When they are work together, they create a balanced approach to downtown economic development. So this year's work plan includes 36 action items. Many of them are tied to the vision plan that we will be working on updating, and we're very excited to get started on. So these items include reevaluating the boundaries of downtown, considering design standards to also allow flexibility in the design, analyzing sewer capacity needs for downtown, evaluating zoning classifications, evaluating a transition zone between downtown, in higher density areas, coordinating with Chatham County on their future uses of the county-owned property, considering increasing in allowable density in key areas, and conducting an inventory of potential infill and expansion opportunities, sites in or near downtown. So several of our action items come from goals directly from the land use plan. As you can see, some of them are in parentheses. Last year, we worked hand in hand with Stewart in including the downtown area and the downtown support area as a new land use classification, which was on the first slide. If you saw, that was the new land use plan map. And the big pink area surrounding downtown is now the downtown support area. So the current vision plan was drafted in 2014. This was the initial phase of a larger, more detailed vision plan for downtown Pittsboro. As the current vision plan states, this plan included very limited stakeholder engagement and limited research or site investigations. So our goal is to update the plan with detailed steps and timetables to make sure that it's not a plan that's just going to sit on a shelf. The entire planning department has been working closely on all of our downtown projects that are in our current work plan over the past several months. We're currently in the process of creating the footprint to updating the downtown vision plan in-house. So when complete, the plan will include several projects with a 5 to 10 year time frame and can also be incorporated into future individual work plans. So it helped guide the next 5 to 10 year annual work plans as well. So along with planning staff, the downtown advisory board committees, and additional downtown volunteers, we're going to have a heavy focus this fiscal year of drafting this vision plan. We're also going to be including the creation of a placemaking component of the vision plan. And there's several other action items identified in the work plan. Some are continuations from this fiscal year that we weren't quite able to button up. And there's also a continuation to coordinate, collaborate with local organizations and hold downtown stakeholder meetings, project ideas such as that. So overall, the fundamentals include less of how we're doing something, more of the why. Our plan should be comprehensive, using the 4-point approach, and should be volunteer driven. We have to have the support from the community and partners, such as citizens, organizations, businesses, and the town government for this to be a successful work plan and vision plan. So we have quite a few action items this fiscal year. We need everybody's help from the community. Anybody here or listening that would like to be a part of this effort, feel free to call me anytime. And that being said, I didn't review everything in the work plan. So if there's anything in particular you want me to go over, please let me know. And if not, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for Teresa? Okay. I'll take a motion to approve the downtown review and work plan for fiscal year 2024-2025. Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin, seconded by Commissioner Vose. All those in favor, say aye. Okay, up next is some appointments to the Pittsboro Downtown Advisory Board. Teresa.
Last one of Teresa's meeting.
So we have 3 current board members, Samantha Burchard, Michael Whitman, and Zed Henry. Their terms will expire on June 30th. One current board member, Mackenzie Allgood, who has been our chair, is relocating. So unfortunately, she has to resign from the board on June 30th. So we received 34 applications requesting to be on the Downtown Advisory Board. The advisory board recommended to reappoint Samantha Burchard, Stephen Henry, to reappoint them to a new term, and recommended Mary Kate Bedell to be appointed for a new term. They also recommended to appoint Eric Andrews to serve the remainder of Mackenzie Allgood's term for an additional year. So after review and discussion, staff recommends appointing Samantha Burchard, Stephen Zed Henry, and Mary Kate Bedell with the term ending June 30th, 2027, and appoint Eric Andrew to fulfill the vacant seat with the term ending June 30th, 2025. Please let me know if there are any questions.
Thank you. Any discussion?
You know, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you just remind me how many people are on the advisory board now?
Which that was not my decision. That was not my decision. 11 voting members, so the rest are ex officio.
18-1.
Yeah, volunteer.
Wow. And 34, you had 34 applications.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
I think that's a testament to the visibility of the group and the excitement about town and Pittsboro 101 and all of these things. So
Almost half of them were downtown business owners.
Really? Okay.
appreciate the help sorting as well.
Yes.
Am I mistaken, or was someone else going to chair that meeting? I still chair the meeting. Didn't we decide someone else was going to? Didn't you all?
Sir.
But-
Kathy Russell's going to be the new chair starting in July.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, that makes sense.
Take a motion to appoint Samantha Burchard, Stephen Zed Henry, and Mary Kate Bedell to the Downtown Advisory Board with terms ending June 30, 2027. Commissioner Vose,
Second.
second, Commissioner Foley. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. And I'll take a motion to appoint Eric Andrews for the Downtown Advisory Board with a term ending June 30, 2025.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Foley, second by Commissioner Vose. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Up next is the Planning Board.
Here.
Eric.
Teresa.
Good.
Yes.
All right, just making sure. I would be remiss if I don't say this. Don't listen, Jonathan. I do think that, and I agree with Commissioner Baldwin, that food trucks is an extremely useful portion or addition to most towns that you go in. I'm from the Caribbean and Latin America, and that's a true identity or culture within those areas where you use them to increase the use of vacant and often lots that we don't want to use for anything else. So it's a great opportunity. However, I would always say, study, make sure you know what you're getting into, because it can all, as good as it can be, it can quickly go bad. But I do think it's a great opportunity. With that said, presenting for Randy, who I'm happy to inform has had successful surgeries, and he's good and jippery. He actually looks better than he did last week, believe it or not. Don't tell him I said that. So the planning board, just scratch that from the record. We have an open planning board position. There is one newly created planning board position for an in-town member. This term is for 3 years and ends on December 31st, 2027. Currently, there is one in-town alternate planning member that can be appointed to this full-term membership. That individual is Corey Forrest. If Forrest is transitioned from the alternate membership to the full-time membership, this would require a simple motion to put him up as the full member and then to vote in an alternate member. We had a total of 14 applications, and I think that is even more impressive than Teresa's 34, as you have to deal with me and Randy. But unfortunately, one of the applicants had untimely passed away, and we do send condolences to his family. But outside of that, we did have 13 other applicants. The suggested motion is to appoint Corey Forrest as the planning board as the in-town member for the term ending December 31st or 2027, and then to appoint an alternate member tonight. Would you like me to read over the names or we could?
I don't think we need to. Thank you. All right, so I'll take a motion to appoint Corey Forrest for the planning board as an in-town member with the term ending December 31, 2027.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin. Second, this is to move up the alternate and then we'll appoint. the
All right, second.
Okay, Commissioner Vose, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And then we need a replacement in-town alternate from the list of the remaining 12.
I'll make a motion to appoint Christina Piard for planning board as alternate in-town member, term ending 31 December 2027.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Foley, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. We do not have a closed session this evening.
Oh, no.
So, yes, okay. All right, I will take a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Vose.
Second.
Second, Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin, all those in favor? Stand up.